preferential procurement policy framework, electronic communication transition, state information technology. Those are the things that guide us, the frameworks and the legislations that we take into account. So therefore, if you want to, I think the previous speaker said his research was rejected by government. So I think you need to tick those boxes. Did it talk to the issues of labor relation? Did it talk to the issues of employment of conditions? Did it talk to the issues of skills development, employment, equity, promotion of access to information? So you need to tick those boxes, because sometimes you might present that program of, as you are saying, from academical, only to find that you'll be taking pictures in the rivers, and our people, our women are still bathing in the rivers. So while you are taking your water samples, and then you take nude pictures of our female residents, and then you post them on the internet. So those are the nitty-gritties that we need to agree and tick. So if that component you do not take it, you will say we hate you or we reject you. But we protect everyone, those who can read and those who cannot read. In terms of the provincial midterm plan, the provinces, the same way as government, has its own plans in terms of the midterm expenditure framework and midterm strategic framework. Then ours, which was informed by the previous one that will be ending, and then we are going to have another one that will be ending in 2025. So in terms of our three priorities in the province of the Eastern Cape, the first one is the inclusive growth and job creation, reduce poverty, tackle high cost of living, and capable ethical and developmental state. So over and above that, we also acknowledge and accepted that the state has been actually weak in terms of integration. So for us to be able to address that risk, we will then now head these priority areas. So in terms of those priority areas, the outcomes in terms of how are we going to see if we are making a contribution in terms of those priority areas. So they've been distributed into 5 outcomes. The first outcome is a growing, inclusive, and equitable economy, an educated and empowerment citizenry, health, population, vibrant, equitable, enabling economy, capable, ethical, and accountable state. So these are the things that we will then now be able to see that we have made an impact into our priority and then also into the people of the Eastern Cape. So just in terms of just giving you a broader definition in terms of those outcomes, the first one, what do we mean by that? That means in that outcome, issues that has to do with skills for the economy. We talk about internship, learnership, bursaries, economic growth, economic infrastructures, environmental sustainabilities, inclusive economy, investment, and job creations. Basically, what we mean here is that if you then now come to us with a paper or a program that seeks to address one of these, it will be our duty and a mandate to fund money for you. This is what we will be obsessed with in the next 5 years. And we are not saying that that which you are passionate about is not important. We are saying that given where we are coming from as a province and where we are with about 7.2 million people in the province and 40% of those that are unemployed. So those are the things that we will be interested in, willing to partner and collaborate with you. In terms of the education and empowered citizenry, I think this is what Roads it's currently doing. That is your core business. But then also further from our side, we'll be focusing more on early childhood development, institutional support, Department of Education, learner attainment, inclusive of general education and training. So those are the kind of things that we will be currently doing in the next 5 years. So if you have any initiative or a project that seeks to address those, we will be your partner. Your challenge is to bring your concept documents, and then we will be able to align them according to our program of action, and then we'll provide funding for you. In terms of the healthy population, those we're talking about non-communicable diseases, mental health, social determinants of health, especially in relation to roads. Most young people now are affected by mental health. We tend to forget in terms of their academic stress. So therefore, if you do have a program that deals with mental health amongst young people, we are able to partner with you. So we are here in that aspect. Vibrant, equitable, and enable communities. I think these are the general things, rural development, anti-poverty, food security, social cohesion, Human settlement and small town development, that's currently what we are doing. Broadband, those are currently what we are doing. So in all these things, all we are saying is that if you have a paper, if you have a topic that you need to study, if you want funding, you don't get it elsewhere. If you come to us, you must tailor-make your study and then to address these issues. How is that audit? Those are the spaces where we can then now also be partnering. Especially on outcome number 5, this is where, especially as academics, you can assist us a lot. I.e., we have most municipalities in the province, because we are the poorest amongst other provinces. Consultants and engineers, they tend to take advantage of us. So in terms of proposing to us the designs, if you are constructing a road in a rural area, someone will give you the specification of Sandral Road. So how do we then now as universities partner, how do you partner with those municipalities in which you reside, especially in terms of your framework for technology applicability frameworks? If you're saying you are in Makanda, what kind of, if we are talking about roads, what kind of roads are applicable here? Do we go block pavers? Do we go asphalt? You need to have those studies so that at least those studies can then now inform the municipality when they make decisions. Even those who are funding those municipalities will be able to say there is a research-based evidence here that says in your space, because of the climate conditions, the only infrastructure you can implement is asphalt, not block pavers, or it's block pavers, not alphas. So that if a consultant comes, I'm done.
You're not fine.
I want 5, okay. Let me just run smooth, and then just in terms of the small town revitalization, that is just the program that is assisting the municipalities to accelerate the delivery of services in of the infrastructure in the province, taking into account that the province was divided into 3 countries at the same time. We had the Republic, Ciskei, and the Transkei, and then the investment of infrastructure took that shape. Republic had the bigger chunk, Ciskei a smaller one, Transkei nothing. So in terms of the small town revitalization, we focus on water, sanitation, electricity, roads, infrastructure. And then in terms of the budget that we are currently having for the midterm is 419 million. That will be the now spending from now on up until 2029. So this financial year, we have about 148 million. So just that's in terms of the overview, just indicating in terms of how much money we have spent on the program since its inception. We have spent about 1.3 billion on the program itself. We've created those kind of projects and employment. And then these are the footprints that we are currently within the province. But the reason why we have highlighted, and also the water treatment plant, we will be replacing those transformers there so that at least we can have that sustainability in terms of your electricity and also plus water and sanitation issues. So those are the sectors that we are collaborating with here. Unfortunately, roads, you are not here. Maybe you will be here after we've engaged. Those are just the spin-off of our program. Those are just how much have our investments resulted into the spin-off. And then those are the risks and issues. What is also key here is just in terms of typical example of our infrastructure. This is a 2.4 megaliter reservoir in Port Alfred in Thornhill. Initially, they had about 300 kiloliter reservoir. Human settlement wanted to build about 1,000 houses. However, they could not proceed with the project because of the shortage of capacity. Our intervention was to replace the 300 kiloliter reservoir with this 2.4 megaliter reservoir. As we speak now, the human settlement is currently in construction phase for those 500 human settlement houses. And then the second last year, this is the Port St. John's Road, it's the Agate Road. This is a typical example of the partnership between government and academics. In Port St. John's, the whole trees and the rivers, you cannot touch them. Whereas the community also wants a road. They cannot access the town if it's rainy. So we had to then now navigate with the Department of Environmental Affairs. Some of the trees we were able to cut and some we were unable to cut. Hence you see the road is narrow because we didn't balance those. In terms of the recommendation, what we seek to achieve by sharing this with you, we wish that maybe we will then now have a high level of alignment of academic research, work with government priorities and challenges. And then secondly, improve coordination and communication with sector departments in the province. And then thirdly, leverage on existing planned provincial investments as an alternative form of funding for your academic studies. As I've mentioned, that we do have our priorities and we do have budget for those priorities, but we are not your conventional academic funders. And then lastly, improve community involvement through traditional leaders, municipal and provincial IGR structure. This is just in terms of when you conduct your research, consult those people so that at least then now they can be able to have a buy-in so that you don't struggle in terms of your issues. Lastly, and then improve collaboration between universities and local government. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Again, you give a gallon of wine.
Red one. Yeah. So Prof actually will now take the stage, and the place taken. Just hurry, right? Let me grab that chair. Grab that chair.
It's fine. The water research agenda of the university dedicated to microbial water quality. So yes, once again, I want to thank all of you and want to particularly recognize and appreciate the presentation of our last three presenters. Listening to those presentations, it's very clear that there are huge areas of synergies, amongst what we do. But it appears as if we've all been working in silos and not working together. And I think it's time to change that narrative, because if we work together and explore the huge potentials that exist in the different sectors, I think we can do much more together. We can do together. So I think we should exploit that opportunity. I always like to flag this slide to introduce my university. Why? Because where the University of Fort Hare is and what the University of Fort Hare is. Indeed, as you probably are aware, we are the first black university in South Africa, over 100 years old. And indeed, we hold, and don't be jealous about this, we hold perhaps, besides Stanford and Yale, no other university in the world has produced as many as 6 presidents of sovereign countries. Put your hands together for us. Don't be shy. Yes, of course, we are here in the Eastern Cape, and campuses are in Alice, East London, and Bishop, and my center is located in the Alice campus, which is an extramural research unit of the South African Medical Research Council. And our activities, of course, fall within the confines of the water research agenda of the University of Fort Hare. And these agendas include the following focal themes, which speaks to water quality indices and macro ecology of water resources in the Eastern Cape. We also look at impact of climate change on water resources. We also look at water footprints of crop production under the Eastern Cape environment. We look at soil water utilization and management, as well as the social economic aspect of water. It's not only about the scientific aspect. So our center, of course, derived its mandate from these focal themes of the water research area of our university. So as a quick introduction, my center was established, took effect actually on 1st April 2015, and with a core vision to be a highly profitable center of excellence for the development of the next generation of microbial water resource and sanitation specialists, of course, within the domain of public health, and to be a leader in preferring solutions to the myriad of water health-related and sanitation challenges in South Africa. And our core vision there is to conduct high-quality, multi- and transdisciplinary research in water and environmental health domain within the precinct of several of the following themes that are articulated, that I'll articulate later. With respect to strategic imperatives, our work speaks to the South African Medical Research Council's Goals 2 and Goals 4. It's also in line with the priorities of Water Research Commission, which speaks to water availability, water use, water quality and health, water advisory support and knowledge services. And the national imperative speaks to the Water Act of 1998, the White Paper on Science and Technology, as well as the National Research and Development Strategy. And globally, therefore, it's also consistent with the following Sustainable Development Goals, including, of course, goal number 1, goals 2, goals 3, 6, and goals 14 and 15, mainly. Of course, there are certain overlaps anyway, depending on other goals, but these are the primary goals that our work is in perfect sync with. So I did mention some of the focal. I did highlight some of the focal themes of our center research, and this includes the water indices, ecology and genomics of water and wastewater resources. Another focal theme is emerging challenges in water and wastewater treatment in the environment in for pandemic, with a focus on early warning signs. And indeed, we are a member. I think Rose also is a member of the SARS-CoV, National SARS-CoV Monitoring Surveillance Team. We also very active, very active focal team of our research agenda involves the reservoirs of antimicrobial resistance and development, of course, of innovative technology to mitigate the challenge. And chemical toxicants in the aquatic environment and their risk assessment. Professor Ndume did mention that, not only looking at emerging pollutants, but indeed other important toxicants. And also another very important aspect is we explore the natural resources in the aquatic environment for important biomolecules that are relevant to health and biotechnologies. And of course, social, economic, and governance aspect of water research. So our research agenda are guided by these focal teams. And we have currently over 30 students in our center at the master's, doctoral, and postdoctoral levels. We have the following goals to increase the number of postgraduate students, output, and graduation throughput of our university, to help to increase the number of publications outputs of the university, to increase community engagement activities, raise the profile, the research profile and visibility of our university, and increase subsidy and third stream income of the university, and be a precursor for the establishment of more centers of research excellence, including more research niche areas, as well as more research chairs, including SESHI shares. This just a list of some of the key projects that we have been involved in over the years, and special thanks to the Water Research Council that we have provided us several grants to carry out so many projects. Because of time, I'm not able to list some of these, but your contributions has been a very important source and opportunity for us to help our research activities and place us at the level that we are today. So the key projects that we have been engaged with over the years include, of course, the quality indices of water resources and emerging challenges in the water sector, with chemical pollutants in the aquatic environment, and in the development of innovative nanomaterials for use in their removal from water and wastewater system. We have also cholera monitoring and response guidelines, which we have put together for the Water Research Commission, antimicrobial resistance in the water plants and food public health interface, and new bioactive compounds of health and biotechnology importance. And we have been very much involved in the wastewater coronavirus surveillance. As a member of the team, we're handling 2 key municipalities in the Eastern Cape. And the One Health and Infectious Diseases is another very important project that we are, even communications, and we have 11 postdoctoral postdoctoral fellows that have been hosted in the last 5 years. It's just 5 years summary, and 5 years. Yes, I'm almost done. And we graduated 28 PhDs and 36 masters during this 5 years period, and published about any grant award institutions, including who want to do some research, who want to do some research, feel free. I can assure you that we have enough funding to play around with. So yes, I can assure you that we have enough funding to play around with. So yes, our research collaboration, full-fledged institute, our focus is in environmental genomics. And we have put forward a sachet chair application for on water quality and environmental genomics. And don't say I told you. Something good is coming out of that. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of work that we are going to be involved in. And of course, we are happy to collaborate with anyone who is interested. Gratitude to our funders. And of course, we welcome collaborations from all of you. And you can see there's a lot of things that we can do together. And I'm happy to also see Andrew Lucas. Hello. Whole face, yeah, it's good to see you. And Professor, the Dean of Natural Science, Professor Modi. Let me thank you. Let me thank your university for attempting to push me from the University of Fort several years ago, until my vice chancellor had to call the vice chancellor and say, hey man, stop fishing in my waters, And I stayed. So yes, once again, thank you very much. I hope we have time to, interact more as this program proceeds. Thank you very much.
We're just a little bit behind time, but we've got our last speaker, and that's Mr. Andrew Lucas from the Eastern Cape Province.
Right. Good morning, and thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Andrew Lucas, and I'm with the Department of Water and Sanitation. I've been there many decades, and I was a student here at Rhodes University, so it is good to be back in Grahamstown, Makanda, and just to have the feeling of being on campus again. I've been with the department, and I'm just going to be giving an overview of our status of... Not sure why it's not wanting to behave for me. A status of our water resources, because we are the origin and the user of the innovation and the development that takes place. I'm not sure. I've got a glitch on my... hang on. But I don't understand why it's not... I just got suspicious when I was sitting in the... Doesn't want to move for me. And I'm not sure what I should actually do. Do I waste my time and reboot? All right, but then I'm going to waste time. Chair, I'm not sure. It'll take a few minutes to reboot if I do so. Do you want me to continue? It won't work on a stick because we are encrypted. So if I move my stick to anyone else, there's an encryption on it. All right. I'm not sure if you should reboot. My presentation does have a large number of graphs and information on it, so I was hoping to talk to those items, but let's see what in the meantime. Okay. as I indicated, we use most of the information. We are managing water resources within our country, and I was hoping to report just on the status that we are in with the Eastern Cape. Our water resource storages, our dam levels are fairly comfortable at the moment. We've had fairly good rains over the past 2 years, and that is closely followed on the severe drought that we had in the western part and Nelson Mandela Metro the past couple of years. But I was also going to show a slide of our river health status, because obviously we look at the status of our rivers being the source of our water, and then also to water resources. And at present, our groundwater resources are fairly comfortable, all in the higher levels of groundwater. Only those monitoring boreholes that are close to production wells and well fields that are showing a drop in water level. I wanted to then touch on our water services side and just give an indication of how our water services is being run, and municipalities are responsible for water services, and we monitor them through our blue drop, green drop and no drop programs. And I was hoping to just show the status of our functionality of our sewage works, because that's one of our biggest challenges. The governance of our institutions that are looking after the infrastructure have really battled, especially during the time of COVID when we had lockdowns, and then followed a lot of vandalism. And we had our infrastructures that are not closely monitored, severely impacted through vandalism. And I'm afraid sanitation is often the underground, behind the hill, outside of the town activity, and they've been severely affected. This left us with a lot of failed sanitation services, and our Minister Mkunu at the time called on a water indaba to try and a water summit to try and address the issues. And our current minister, Minister Pemi Majorgina, has also had a water summit to try and address this aspect, because it's the water services that's managing our infrastructure that is actually at the heart of it. So my presentation was hopefully trying to cover those.
I was actually trying to engineer the program a little bit. If you are around after tea time, sure, maybe you can do the first speaker, so that indeed can, yeah, so that people can get everything.
Well, then I suggest we have a break. Yes,
Yeah,
let's have a break. I do apologize, and I think that'll be the best.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Let's have a break, colleagues. We are not going to have discussion because we are running out of time, but you can, with your questions, the table will be there to accommodate them in the next session, and then we will continue talking and discussing. So it's tea time now, and you will be our first speaker.
No, that's fine.
So is the presentation in itself also encrypted?
I don't think so. What I wanted to ask you is give me your email address, and if I get this up, I'll email it to you as well. Then at least you've got the two.
Yes, then we use our laptop.
Yeah. All right. But now I can't remember what I finished with this password. While I was traveling here, I was in a virtual meeting, and so my computer was on in the motor car, and I don't know if that had some impact. But with all this encryption and all these things, it's just slow. I'm now waiting for it to reboot and correct all these things.
But it should be.
Also, we have to build a structure.
You can call
Okay, but I'm audible though, right? Okay, okay. Okay, good morning. I hope you've enjoyed some nice coffee, snacks, and are ready for the second session. And I will be the facilitator of session 2, and my name is Amelia Marutla. But before we start that, where we'll be handling about partnerships, we'd like to conclude from the previous session with Dr. Lucas, who will just give us his presentation, and hopefully it's working now. And I was just asked to make an announcement. If you need access to the, what is it called, Wi-Fi, Prof. Odume has these passwords, so just put your hand up and he'll come and hand these out to you. Thank you. Thanks, Doc.
Right, let's hope that it works this time. I was going to just run through the status of our water, both water resources and water services, and so I'm not going to delay it. We monitor and manage 44 state dams in the Eastern Cape, and some of them are grouped in systems where they are linked to each other, and you can provide water from different dams to the same users. The Algoa system feeding Nelson Mandela Metro, Amatole system feeding Buffalo City area and ADM, Kliplaat system near Komani, and then we've got standalone dams in the western side and standalone dams on the eastern side and a couple operational dams. The highlighted ones are the ones that have water restrictions on. And the reason for that is Mpofu Dam never really recovered after the last drought, and so we've continued to require restrictions to be imposed, and we evaluate this every year, and we set restrictions if necessary at the end or at the beginning of each year. So the highlighted ones are having restrictions, and we've got 3 weeks of successive data. And in the eastern side, we've got Debe Dam and Lubisi Dam that are under strain. No restrictions yet, because at the decision period, they actually were above the level of requiring restrictions. This graph just shows the performance of these dams, and we can see they're reasonably comfortable at this time following the good rains, the good wet years we've had. The Algoa system has the one with the restriction, and the Kaiskama catchment as well. This gives a comparison of last year this time to this at the time now. And the first 2 bars are for the whole of the Eastern Cape. And the next 3 are the Algoa system, the Amatole system, and the Kliplaat system. And we can see that on the Algoa system, we 17% lower than we were last year. And so we are concerned that we might be showing that we are moving into a dry period. But for the Eastern Cape as a whole, we're very similar levels to what we were last year. We do a number of river monitoring and biomonitoring on our river systems, and we can see the spread across our province. And this allows us to develop a state of rivers report. And here's just a classification of what our rivers look like. And I've tried to arrange them from the western side across to the eastern side. And we can see we've got a range of rivers from natural conditions through to good to fair, and then we've got some that are in poor condition. And what we see is these poor condition ones are where our highest population density of urban development is. And I'll just talk to them, that same graph, a bit later. We also monitor a lot of groundwater, and these are our groundwater monitoring sites. We've got about 160 odd sites and 156. And we can see following the drought, the groundwater recovered. Last year it was still improving. This year we're starting a slight downward trend, but we're in the category of moderately high groundwater levels. And if this little pie diagram just shows here, we've got about 40% that has been increasing in the past period. About, I can't read it exactly, but the stable portion. And we've got about 30 that are decreasing. But most of those that are decreasing are very closely associated with production wells, where we are abstracting large quantities of groundwater and possibly even over-abstracting. So just comments on our water resources. I mentioned Mpofu Dam in the Algoa system has not yet recovered beyond 60%, so we're still watching that one very closely. And the decision month for the Algoa system is now in end of November. So we will be making announcements after we've run our models. The seasonal rain forecasts indicate that normal to below normal may occur in the western side, and normal to above normal on our eastern side of our province. And biomonitoring of our rivers show that most of the impacted rivers are within the urbanized areas where there's high population densities. And the Eastern Cape groundwater status is normal to moderately high. So we're comfortable with our resources at the moment. I'm now going to move on to water services. And we monitor our water services through three strategies: the blue drop report that looks at drinking water, the green drop report that looks at sanitation, and no drop looks again at drinking water, but looks at how it's managed in terms of water conservation and non-revenue water, which is a big concern. How can we be sustainable if we're not getting enough revenue in for the services that are provided? We've completed our new green drop assessments and no drop assessments, and those we're busy preparing those reports, hopefully to be released in a couple of months. But what we see basically is our drinking water. We've got about 60% of our water is in good to excellent, but we are still having a portion where we are not up to standard. Our functionality of sewage works, we see we're 54% functional, and we've got challenges in some of the others. And our no drop, we're only sitting with 3 of our water service authorities that are meeting the criteria, but we've got a good foundation, and we believe that we're going to improve in the next report. This just tracks the type of functionality we had with sewage works. So I started monitoring the functionality 2021, where we saw about 50% was fully functional and about 10% was non-functional. But then that deteriorated rapidly after our COVID and after load shedding, which left the vulnerability to being vandalized. And we then needed to have that intervention of a water summit, water indabas, and we've had them each year since then. And we saw that the functionality started improving, and we note that that was a good improvement after the summit, but progress has almost stagnated. And in my last assessment, we actually see that the rate of improvement is being overtaken again with the rate of decline, either from failures or vandalism. And that's a big challenge we have, because you have to invest money to improve security and fix it up. And the municipalities are really battling to have sufficient resources to do those. So those pie charts are obtained from this data, where we've got all our water service authority municipalities there, and the number of sewage works they operate and own, and we can list and the percentage of the functional ones, the partially functional and the non-functional, and this is the progress since in our last semester. And we can see that 13 improved, but 14 declined as well. So we really need to push that from a governance perspective, from an authority performance perspective. When we look at monitoring of our sewage works effluents, the discharges, we are looking at the microbiological quality, chemical quality, and the physical qualities, and we can see how each of our municipalities are performing. And I've tried to rank them based on those that are performing well, and the color also indicates the level of performance. And so our poorer performing municipalities are at the bottom of this table. And we've got 45 sewage works which are not properly monitored. And we don't know how well they are performing. So this is a capacity that needs to be built up from our municipalities. An improvement in the water quality we see from last year to this past year. We see it was 36% in 2024, and that's up to 43% now in 2025. So we are seeing the improvement, but not fast enough. Now, I showed you the status of our rivers. This graph below, the green bars are the green drop scores that municipalities achieved. And so we can see that Nelson Mandela Metro was a good performer, Buffalo City as Metro was a good performer, and some of our districts also fairly well. The red bar is actually microbiological compliance of the effluents. And so what I wanted to try and correlate this is Nelson Mandela Metro is around Swartkops, and our biggest pollution in our rivers is from where we've got our big high-density communities. And also Buffalo City, they performed well as a green drop score, but they are performing dismally in managing their works day to day. And we've also found that Buffalo River is also one of our most impacted river systems. Moving on to drinking water quality, we monitor all of our municipalities, all of their water treatment works, and I've consolidated them into a Water Service Authority graph. So each graph represents all the works and all the monitoring that is done in a particular municipality. It shows 13 bars, one for each month of the year, and the last one is the running average for that municipality. And I've then ranked the municipality. Sorry, that score you see there, 99.9%, is the data that's captured underneath for the running total for that municipality. And I've ranked them in terms of that score that we see. We've also got a very high standard we're looking for. A level of excellence is 99% compliance to zero E. coli being in the water. And if we get below 95, we say that water system is not safe and we regard it as bad. So we can see that we've got 2 of our municipalities that are in the excellent condition, 3 in the good condition, 3 in our poor condition, and the balance, the 7, are in the bad category. And I've called them not only water service authorities but water service providers, because Amatola Water is in that group as well. So we see that there's a lot of improvement we still need to achieve. And this is reliant on ensuring regular monitoring is done, and this is the statistical outcome of that. That information is all from our IRIS system, the Integrated Regulatory Information System that we as a national department run. So just to give you an overview again, I said we've had 2 water summits to try and address the poor performance that we are seeing in our water services. And the first one was in January of 2024. A lot of commitments were made, a lot of action plans were drawn up, but implementation of those plans are always slow. We had a second in Durban at the beginning of this year, and again, interventions were proposed. Our municipalities are required to report on their progress, and we're still battling to get effective reporting coming through. So that is being taken up at our municipalities at a political level to say, how do we get the responses that we are needing? Just to reach conclusions, our organizations that are responsible for running our water services and our infrastructure need to understand that water and other pollution is against our constitution, it's against many of our laws, and we need to address it. And where pollution takes place within our jurisdiction, we have an obligation to report it, to make sure that we remove, contain, and minimize, rehabilitate, and resolve that pollution. And organizations are urged to prepare corrective action plans to address these areas of failure and areas of non-compliance. And those corrective action plans need to be time-bound, confirming that funding is available and signed off by the administrator of that institution. And funding grants need to be reprioritized. It's no use that we're funding according to a plan, but here we've got a crisis, and people are having unsafe water, and pollution is taking place. So we are saying to our institutions, reprioritize the funding, because there's not always new funding, but you must make sure that you deal with those issues that can put your managers into court. And a compliance and anti-pollution task team has been established to try and guide this process and to ensure that we keep the pressure on this aspect of non-compliance and failing services. And whilst we see a steady but slow improvement,
tool for process controllers in the municipalities. So it has been rolled out so far 4 different sites, and we've just signed 2 MOAs where it's going to be rolled out in 2 different municipalities as well to test it. We also have a couple of RDI projects that have been implemented in the province, and this is, I'm not going to read them, but you can see that it ranges from anything from hydrological water models to flood monitoring, and yeah. Before I say thank you, I also just wanted to mention, apart from what I've just mentioned, we also have capacity building initiatives. The CE mentioned earlier this morning how we support students.
We look for, I know people think that we are only visible once a disaster happened or once, yes, actually we get that a lot. They say, oh, I'm sure you are just sitting in your offices, you're not doing anything. Only to find that we actually do more work to make sure that we reduce exposure to risks and to make sure that we do emphasize mainly on preparedness and risk reduction. That's what we mainly focus on. And I think when you look at the Disaster Management Act, the main purpose of that act is to make sure that we reduce the risk and then we minimize and we prevent. And that's what we are mainly focusing on. So we partner with universities as well as other research institutions so that they can assist us to do mainly this research, focus on these research areas that we see in the province. We have done a risk profile for the province in the latest is 2021, 2022. And And now with through SANSA, same programs. That's why I'm saying we look for partnerships. So through SANSA, what we are doing now, we are mapping the flood and the risk and the fire risk in the province. And this is why we are here. We always look to partner within universities. I know Prof from Walter Sisulu, we work very well with Dr. Naken. When he mentioned him, I was happy. And even from Fort Hare, we work with Dr. Zoe a lot, and they do participate in our, when we do this risk assessment, we normally form a structure that we call technical risk assessment because we understand that we would not understand the water, would not understand agriculture, so we try to get different stakeholders from different institutions so that they can work with us to make sure that at the end of the day, what we are working on is it will be credible and it will work. I think the most important thing that we are emphasizing is implementation, which is not happening. We are seen by municipality as the bank now. Everybody, once a disaster happens, they come to us. We need to look for funding. When funding gets here for water, there are so many projects that we have funded here in Makana. And unfortunately, I think why we even approached WRC at the time, we realized that some of the projects that were implemented by municipalities were not sustainable because they just want something, I don't know, maybe to, just to address that challenge at the time. I think during the opening remarks, the CEO mentioned that in KZN, after a disaster, they actually put the same pipes. Those are the challenges that we have in disaster management. We do source funding. When it gets here, they tell you, same bridge that was washed away, you'll find the same municipality applying to prepare to build the same bridge. So what will happen to that infrastructure? So I want to introduce the next speaker, who is Ms. Zona Koki from Salga. And I apologize for butchering your name if I get that.
Thank you. My name is Uzona Koki. I'm based in the Eastern Cape, working for South African Local Government Association. For the benefit of those that might not understand how SALGA or what is SALGA, I'll simply, in a brief way, to say that in one of many mandates that we have, we are the voice and the representative of the municipalities. We lobby on behalf of the municipalities. We advocate on behalf of the municipalities. There's other roles. I think for the benefit of this session, since it's more of a stakeholder, those are the 3 roles or mandates that I think that are best fits to describe why SALGA is here today. And I think, Chair, in the many presentations that have been done so far, what I've carried through, we call it in Xhosa umphago, really did touch, the presentation really did touch on what we as SALGA would love that Water Research Commission or this roadshow to touch on. But I'll emphasize on the few. I think the presentation today, it did touch on one of the roles that researchers can do. And I think in one of these outcomes, we lift also the issue of data, data tools. I think it was data tools and models that can be better in terms of making a decision. I think we lift that, and it's one of the things that we've been advocating. But in one of the things that were presented, we also want to add there infrastructure asset management data, because we want it to be a strategic tool where it informs its decisions within the municipality. And I think it will address things that my colleague have been saying in terms of disaster and how do we build resilient in terms of climate change. It will also address the story that was being mentioned in the room to say that there was a municipality that replaced the same pipe. So if we had that data, infrastructure data management as a strategic tool within the municipalities, some of the things can be managed. And in terms of planning also, decision making, budgeting and so forth. And another thing that we also carry is to say that in one of the questions, because we also have those interactions, closed sessions within the municipality, one of the questions that we've been lingering to say that how do we unpack and address it? And I think the researchers here can also assist us to say, how do we measure? How do we measure in terms of, how do we find a standard measure on the work that we do support within the municipalities each and every day? What is the tool where we can say that we are mapping today, from today, we're mapping, for example, if I can talk to us, from next year we've got our 5-year strategy. I think each and every organization does have. How do we map, if we go to the municipality, the support that we did, the work that we, where are we going? Because if we talk about issues of water services, they are vast and they will never find best solution, but how do we measure the work that we do? So we call upon the institutions, educational institutions, researchers to say that, can we find that strategic tool that will help us to measure the functionality that we're supporting the municipalities? UDWSK has that tool. It's called Municipal Strategic Support Assessment. But the challenges now that municipality finds is that they don't differentiate in terms of compliance. They also take it as a compliance. So when they do the assessments, it might be malicious because they want to comply and look good. But it's supposed to be a picture that looks at municipality, and we also talked about the ecosystem to say that within all these disciplines, finance, corporate communication, water, where do we fit? Where is the municipality in this current financial year? How did it move? Where, so in terms of evidence base, which was there, talked at today, how do we, if it's working, can we keep it? How can we make it to use it as not be seen as a compliance, but also as a strategic measure within the municipality? And also it will, I think, it can also assist in terms of the leaders within the municipality, because if anything can be based in terms of, in a simplest form, to say that how can a leader within the municipality, if you ask them to say that, what are you doing? Where were you? It must not only be a technical person that answers those questions, also leaders. So if you can have those strategic assessment tools that assist the municipality to be able to measure themselves, it must be within the municipality. It's a tool that they use it within themselves to assess themselves, so that when strategic partners like this come and support, they know the areas where they need to support the municipality, so that the support cannot, because we are running away also in a support that is so basic and standard. Magana municipalities cannot receive the same support as Nelson Mandela Metro. So those are the things that we want to say, that we put it upon the researchers and also the institutions to find measures. Again, from the words of one of the municipalities, say that we are no longer WSAs now, we are security services. It goes back to the issue of the theft and vandalism. So also we want to lift it up to say that we must find measures that assist in theft and vandalism. And I think it was mentioned in the room, but unfortunately on the ground, as today now, you will find out theft and vandalism is the problem. The budget, the pump is bought today, tomorrow it's replaced. The security budget, it supersedes whatever budget. So now they are not providing water, they are securities. They are trying all the means to say that how do we, the police, the innovations, the whatever, it's there, it's there. So those are the things that we also want to uplift. And I think, Chairperson, those are the things, and in all we concur with the presentations that have been done so far today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, President. From our side, just a contribution, the question, questions and contributions. I think the question from both previous speakers, both from Water Sisulu and both from Water, very much indicate the number of students that have graduated. I think from our side, our interest, especially at this collective now, we also need to know where are they? What are they doing? Because that is where I believe we are missing the point. Because the point is not to have 100 graduates and attract additional funding. And then those are the ones who are busy vandalizing the wastewater treatment works, because they are not working. So I would propose that maybe in the next gathering when we meet, let us then now have a tracking of those graduates. If you have 100 graduates, where are they? What are they doing? And then also the same applies to the papers published. What are the impact of those papers to the province, to the country, and to the world as a whole? How many of those have been turned into a practical solution, so that those that information will be able to assist us to reflect and guide directions and advise each other going forward. And then I think the second last is also on the issue of security from the speakers from both SALGA and DWS. This is the challenge that we are having, because we are having the old guard vis-a-vis the young guard, and then none wants to surrender. The challenge is that if you look at how water services, municipalities and government approach issues of security, we cannot be talking about physically mending a water treatment plant whereas we have drones. But they are so obsessed with issuing out a security contract for people to be there physically. And then that person doesn't even have a gun. That's the worst, yeah. So all I'm saying is that taking this example and bring it here to academics, we need to have a paper that compare the two. What is the benefit? Does a physical security services add value into water and sanitation infrastructure? Yes, in the bank, yes, you can be in the door because you prevent people from entering. But at the water treatment plants, do you really need a physical person to be there? Or can we use drones? Those are the things. And then the last one, again, I think this is for this collective. In terms of the presentation made by Mr. Andrew, he indicated the issues, the challenges that we're having with both water and sanitation infrastructure. I guarantee you, we'll come back here next year, that picture will be the same, if not worse. And the reason being is that the research that you are conducting doesn't address any of those challenges that we are facing as a province. I'll give you a practical example. A water treatment plant in Tabankulu, it was your conventional water treatment plant. It was a biofilter and then with septic tanks, a humus tank, that is. But now in Tabankulu we have Boxer, we have Spa, we have KFC, they are producing fat, we have saloons that are producing chemicals. Your normal biological treatment works will never work. So that research is not there because that research is what's supposed to be guiding the municipality's bylaws. So the municipality, the councillors, they keep on passing the same bylaws, Takes a sample and then you keep on presenting this. So all we are saying at this collective is that let us have this honest reflection and engagement. Thank you very much, Program Director.
So there was a handful of questions. I don't think I'm the right person to answer them, so this is what we'll do. I can mention something about the skills and, so the RRC is currently going to partner with UCIT and we're going to undertake a skills audit, tracking what are the skills in the water and sanitation sector, possibly also looking at the graduates, but also looking at the sector as a whole. What are the gaps and what can be done about that? So your thinking is very aligned and in time. We're currently doing that. There were questions that I think were more directed to Prof. Walter Sisulu and to Salga. And my suggestion is that have some time to think about this and we just go ahead with the two presentations from our partners at WISA and EMISA. And then in the end, there'll be a forum to answer and address some of the points that you raised. Yes, ma'am. Yes. It's going to be coordinated. So all the different activities will be coordinated through the Office of the Premier. Yeah, I mean, it depends. We will look on a case-to-case basis. As I mentioned in my presentation, we already have MOUs and MOAs with specific municipalities addressing a specific challenge. Depending on the discussions, so we just started these discussions with the Office of the Premier. So what comes up there will kind of guide us going forward in terms of what that MOU will contain. But as the RRC, we will never say that, if you come to us and you're interested in a partnership, we will explore areas that we can collaborate. So it's not that, it's only through from it. Yes.
I just want to add on that. We actually have tried to call a meeting. Salga was invited and we only had DWS, Office of the Premier. COGTA was there just to look at how we move forward since the past MOU did not materialize, did not give good results, but a lot of things were done. But we missed Salga. And Salga, it was raised in the discussions that is a key partner. When we signed that MOU, we are saying the proposal that was made by the Office of the Premier is that they become the central point, but it is having all the partners together. SALGA being the partner as one of them.
Thanks, Ishege, for adding that. So talking about that, I mean, we also, so the next two presentations are partnerships that the RRC signed with WISA and EMISA. And this is basically geared, the objective is to strengthen the technical capabilities in the municipalities. So we identified with stakeholder engagements such as these, what are the needs across the different provinces and what courses could be offered to respond to that need. So this is a partnership that is going to occur over 5 years. We're now currently in the second year. I don't think we've had any training courses that have come to the Eastern Cape, so this is a very important platform to discuss what are the needs there and for our colleagues at EMISA and WISA to hear this and, you know, to roll out the courses accordingly to the identified needs. But in this aspect, you know, just to bring in SALGA, SALGA is a very important collaborator in this, and we've just had a very good meeting with them. I think it was a week ago. And so we work with them at the national level, but they in turn are the driving and getting the buy-in from the provinces. So you probably will be contacted by the national office to talk about these opportunities. And so I think that going forward, the future is bright. I think everybody is eager to work. And as I said earlier, the time of diagnosis is over. It's time now to implement and to get sustainable implementations and solutions on the ground. So with that, I would like to invite Ms. I just forgot your name and I was just Melissa, sorry, it's old age. Melissa Cousins, who's going to just give us a brief overview of the activities that WISA is carrying out. Your floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Amelia. Morning, everybody. So obviously this morning we've had some very interesting presentations, and my favorite is always to see the DWS presentation because I always steal some of their information, and now we've gotten a nice update. So when you see my slide, it's a little bit outdated, but don't worry, you've seen Andrew's great info that he shared earlier. So I think my presentation is really just a little bit about who WISA is and what we do, and then also, you know, really about this partnership that we have with the Water Research Commission. And then I just also will touch on a few other notes. So I'm just assuming I can move on. Okay. So WISA is really the central body for water professionals in Southern Africa. And I'm sure that there are a few of you in the room who already know who WISA is. I have already seen a few of our members standing here and presenting, so it's good to see you. And we are professionally recognized with the South African Qualifications Authority. We hold the professional designation of Professional Process Controller. And if anybody knows about DWS Regulation 3630, that has included a requirement that Class 5 and Class 6 process controllers be professionally registered with WISA. And as with any other professional bodies, such as EXA and SACNASP, we are there to protect the public by ensuring that we uphold the standards within the professional process controller, you know, job designation. Please excuse me. Okay, and then also with regards to that, we are a voluntary membership body. So as I mentioned before, there are some of you who are already members in the room, academic members, and through that we offer networking opportunities for our members. We also do skills developments and training, so that's through CPD, and we offer CPD training not only to our professional process controllers, but also to professional engineers as well as professional natural scientists. So our courses are accredited with EXA and SACNASP as well as WISA. And then obviously we use our events. If any of you have been to any of our events, especially our biennial conference, that's the biggest water sector events in South Africa. And we have that every second year, so I'll tell you a bit about that later. But we have conferences, workshops, and so on, in which we use to share knowledge. So just a little bit about our membership. We have different membership categories. We have obviously our professional designation, which is at the top there, and then we have different individual memberships. We have academic membership, student membership. I know there's some students in the room as well. And then we have our general members, and then our senior fellows, and so on. Then we also have non-individual members. That's our corporate members, which is our patron members. We do have some in the room here. I know Amatola Water is a patron member, so is the WRC. And then we also have educational institutions, so that would be your universities. There are also some universities in the room. If you're not already a member of WISA, get in touch with me. Let's talk about how you can become a member. We also have municipality membership, and that's very important, especially with regards to the regulation. That particular membership includes the registration of 2 professional process controllers. So if you are a municipality and you want to know more about that, you can also speak to me about that. We have different branches. You'll note that our central regions includes Free State, Northwest and Northern Cape, and then obviously we also have an Eastern Cape branch. Currently that resides in PE, but we also had another satellite one in East London, but obviously we'd like to include this region as well. We have various technical divisions, and then we also have some empowerment platforms, one of them being our young water professionals, and then our women in water as well. Just a little bit of an overview of the professional process controller designation. So one of the requirements for the designation is that they need to earn 30 credits over a 3-year period. So that's 10 credits a year. That is also aligned to the regulation that DWS has put out as well. So that training then needs to be done through WISA. WISA is busy with developing a career path, and this is where the universities can come in as well. We need to have a career path from learners to Class 4 process controllers, because at the moment currently we are getting inquiries from process controllers that are maybe only at a Class 2 level and they don't have the right qualifications to be professionally registered, and they're saying, where do I go from here? So I need to know from the universities, where can I send them? What programs do you have available that I can recommend to these people coming through and saying, we need to upskill our process controllers, where can they go? So if you have that information, if you have programs, whether they be at an NQF level 4, 5, 6, whatever that is, let us know what we can use and what information we can share when we get these inquiries. You'll note that for professional designation registration, you need to have a relevant NQF 6 qualification. Then also you have to have 6 years work experience as a process controller, and within the last 5 years you have to have completed those specific occupational tasks. So then how WISA provides support, I think you'll note that there really is a problem with blue, green and no drop scores, especially in the region. You know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So we offer support especially to process controllers, because they're one of the key people who are working at the water treatment and wastewater treatment plants. So they're at a ground level and they need to be properly qualified and skilled to be able to do their jobs properly, because if they can do their jobs properly, your output is going to be better at the end of the day. And then also we offer assistance to water boards and municipalities, so that's through our different trainings. And then as Amir mentioned earlier, we have a project specifically with the WRC to upskill people working within the municipalities. But we also work with the EWCETA, we also work with the LGCETA to be able to provide training and to get professional registrations. So it's just a little bit of an overview of our courses. So just in general, I already mentioned that we have WISA, EXA and SACNASP accreditation. We get funding from various partners, and if you are a member of WISA, you'll be able to access some of these funded projects. This is just some of the courses that we have: water quality and sampling, sustainable operation and maintenance of water treatment plants, anaerobic digestion and municipal wastewater sludge. We have a few e-learning courses as well that we run online. And then some of our newer training courses: blue drop audit, green drop audits, plant audits, plant and process audits actually, wastewater risk abatement plans, water safety plans, and those are some of the courses that we are offering through this partnership with the WRC. For the academics in the room, we want to expand on our CPD course offerings. You can see this is actually quite limited. And the fact that we now have an obligation to our professional process controllers to ensure they have access to CPD training, we need to very quickly and widely expand our network of offerings. So as the tertiary institutions in the room, we are able to accredit your courses, and if we accredit your courses, they will be accredited with SACNASP and EXA as well as WISA, which means that engineers, scientists and process controllers can attend your training. You're welcome to get hold of me. My email address is there. It's admin@WISA, or you can come speak to me afterwards and we can see how you can get involved in getting some of your short courses accredited with WISA. Okay, then onto our partnership. So I just wanted to give a state of water, but obviously Andrew was here earlier and he did give a bit of an update. But just some of the information that I picked out of the last reports that were given by the DG at those water summits was that non-revenue water in the region is sitting at 50.6%. That's very bad. That means half the water is going down the drain essentially. Then 39% of the water supply systems are in a poor to critical state. Based on that report, only 3.9% scoring a good. You know, there was nobody that was excellent. Obviously, Andrew's now given us a bit of an update. There's been some changes in that. The risk of green drop non-compliance at that time was sitting at 78.7%. That's very high. There is a shortfall of 58% qualified process controllers in the region. That's 407. That is a lot. That is job creation. Why are we not employing people? It's scary. It honestly is scary. So we need to improve on that. Then just, you know, some of the things that jumps out at me. Amatole District Municipality received a no-drop score of 4%. 4%. I don't even want to know what happened there. Then Kokama as well received a no-drop score of 11%, and based on that report had failed to provide blue drop water quality information. Why? Is that because the people that are working there didn't do their jobs properly? Do they not know what's required of them? Do they not know what they need to do? So this is where the training comes in and why it's important. So I just gave, you know, a few picks there, but yeah, if you just look, it's very red. We don't want it to be red anymore. We want to improve on that. So with this particular project, I think what we really want to do is significantly enhance the technical capabilities and stakeholder engagement of municipalities across all South African provinces. And this is a national project that we're running. We've already had training held in the Northwest, in the Northern Cape, in Free State, and Mpumalanga, and next year Eastern Cape is on the schedule. So we need to obviously get the right people that should be at these trainings to attend these sessions. And so Selga, I'm looking at you because we're going to be working with WRC and Selga to identify the municipalities and get them to send the correct persons. So there's going to be training for process controllers and there's going to be training for councillors. We need these councillors to come to this training. So then I'm going to jump to the bottom where I'm talking about the curriculum areas. For the technical persons, the process controllers, even your technical managers. So we have blue drop training. It's blue drop audit training. It tells them what is going to be audited, how do these things get done, so that they understand what the blue drop audit entails. With that, hand in hand goes the water safety planning, because the water safety plan forms part of the blue drop audit. Then we have the green drop training, wastewater risk abatement plans as well. Again, hand in hand with the green drop training. Then we're going to have a no-drop water conservation, non-revenue water training course as well. And as you already saw earlier, non-revenue water in this region is quite bad. So that would be an important course. And then obviously plant and process audits. So that's aimed at the technical people, the process controllers. Then we have our governance and leadership. And that's because in the discussions with not only WRC, but even with municipalities, with others working in the water sector, we realize that there really is this big gap. So the process controllers, the technical managers, the people working at the plants can do the best they can, but if you go to leadership and say, I need money to do this and this and that, and leadership doesn't understand the importance of that, you're not going to get their support. So we want to educate them. We want to give them the information so that when they make decisions about water, they are making the right decisions, informed decisions. And so with that, we have a water governance and compliance for councillors. That's not only going to it's going to give them an overview of the blue drop, green drop, and no drop audit so that they understand what that entails. It's also going to talk about the Water Act. It's also going to talk about PFMA, all of those things, and then released. And then we're also going to do an introduction to water. Obviously, that's something that is used within the region. So then it will be specific to the region so that the people here understand what are your water and wastewater things that are happening, that are specific to you. So we're not going to talk about desalination, if that isn't something you're doing. We need it to be relevant so that people here understand what they are doing. So, yeah, I think that's just about that. And then I wanted to just highlight some of our events. We have the Young Water Professionals Conference, which is 25th to 27th of November. And I'm not going to even try to say the name because I cannot. So I'm just going to say PE, forgive me, I'm sorry. And that is, you know, that's obviously our young people coming together and presenting. And it's a well-known event. It's been running every year, every second year. I don't even know since when it's been that long. But for anybody who's able to attend or to send your students, remember that is a great event to attend. And then obviously we're also going to be having our WISA Biennial Conference that's taking place in Cape Town, 22 to 24 July. It says here save the date, but I'm going to tell you submit your papers. Abstracts have been opened. They're going to close on the 30th of November. If you haven't already submitted a paper, please submit your abstracts. Our technical program is one of the things that we really hold close and dear to us, to say that this is really a very good technical conference. And so we want to make sure that the papers we are delivering are really of a high quality, and I know you in the room are able to provide that. Okay. Thank you so much. There's already a question. Your range. So what we actually need to do is we need to get people to come on board like WRC to try and fund that, even with the CETA as well. Yeah, I'm putting you in this play.
Okay, I'm closing. No, I've just asked. I don't see him. Yeah. So, okay, so it seems that Prof. Kobus is not here today yet, but he'll be having a session tomorrow, and I'll just ask him to give a bit of an overview of what he was supposed to give today. He'll do that tomorrow, at the session tomorrow, which, I don't know, what time is it now? Organizers, in terms of lunch and everything, it's very strict. Because we could just open up for 5 minutes. Yeah, okay. So we open up the floor for interactions. I think the aspiring prof who doesn't want to be aspiring, or no, had asked a series of questions, and I think Prof from Walter Sisulu, one of those questions was directed to you, Salga. Yeah. I don't know if you mind just repeating your questions in case people... There was something about...
Okay, thanks, Program Director. The question, I think, for Walter Sisulu and Forte, it was in relation to the mobility of the graduates. Where are they? What are they doing? And then equally so in terms of the papers published, what are the value or the outcome of those papers? How many of those papers have been translated into practical knowledge or work on the ground, there be in the province, the country, or globally as a whole? And then I think for Salga it was in relation to the issue of infrastructure security. Why are they or have they made any effort, or have they taken into account the availability of drone technology that can assist to monitor and provide security, as opposed to the current security system preferred by the municipalities? I think that was that, and then I think generally the pointers for for discussion that were shared here into. I think the last one is just in for as the Office of the Premier, I think as part of the outcome of this discussion, the tangible outcome, we do have, we are currently working with Makana, we are currently working with Koukama, we are currently working with Ndlambe and Sarah Badman. Those are water service authorities and providers. So if as roads you have unemployed graduates within science and engineering, let us have discussions how we can then now place those unemployed graduates in those municipalities. So the same will also apply to those at your Fort Hare and also Husu. Just last point, Chairperson. We've advertised 3 times here in Makan looking for unemployed graduate for both science and engineering. We did not find any. 150%. And Koukam. And I am 150%. I can show you the advert on Daily Dispatch, local municipalities, Herald, notice boards. So this is the issues that we must talk about. Saying now, here we are saying we are looking for 10 unemployed graduates, but for some odd reasons, they are not there. And Professor says I have doctorates that have graduated that are not working. These things does not make sense. There's something which does not make sense. Thank you very much, Program Director.
So I think we just give the mic and go around to respond to these.
You want me to respond on the impact of publications? Okay, look, I'm not going to be long. The question of how do we make sure that our graduates are employable, I think that's your basic question. How do we make sure that the graduates that are part of these programs are then going to be part of the key performance indicators of a project as people who, yes, got the degree. And then after that, what happened in terms of their contribution to community? Is that your question? Yes. This is a question that for all universities, generally speaking, currently we have a tendency to chase these publications because that's what the Department of Higher Education and Training wants from us as universities. How many did you enroll? How many did you have as a throughput? And we celebrate that on graduation day. But what we're doing now as university leadership is to introduce soft skills programs. And we'll work integrated part of that. One of the slides that I showed in my presentation was a green growth. That is for undergraduate students of WUSU, for all faculties but led by natural sciences, where they are going to be forced to be part of general projects as volunteers, be a businessman in future, in engineering, and so on and so on. And then lastly, through our short learning programs, we want to collaborate with government. For example, at WUSU, I had a project last year, employed 150 unemployed graduates of WUSU on just digital skills. And now we deploy them in the rural areas where they can go to a rural area where there is Nkosi X, to say, I need to know how many households are here, how many dams are here. And it was fascinating how after 12 months, they got NQF level 5 qualification. That is not directly what they learned at school, at varsity, but it's linked to what the municipality needs. So what I'm trying to say is that you must raise your hand and say, when we design our curriculum, we need to improve it and not make it the 1990s curriculum. It must be the 2025 curriculum and so on. Thank you.
Okay. And then, so, yes. Well, I'll give you a quick chance.
Thank you. I thought that would be the last. But I have 3 questions I want to raise here. Oh, thank you. No.
um, Thanks, Chair. I think yes, we are looking at the options of using a drone as one of the innovations, and I think Buffalo City has started. And I think also within SALGA, we've got a unit of innovation. We did try to pilot it at Jogabi, but we need to also understand the nature of our province being rural. One, it was also an issue of the capacity within the municipality who's going to operate the drone. And two, which was also, because I also thought that it was simple to, in terms of having a drone, you just supply a drone and one is responsible for that. But there were signatures that were needed in terms of authorization. So first it was for the local municipality to authorize, then another body from human, there was a number. So it didn't really materialize. It had those challenges, but it's there, it's coming. And I think probably is to assist to say that how do we try to simplify those challenges when it comes to use of a drone, especially to assist the improvement of the water services.
Thank you, thank you. I just wanted to say something on publications. You know, everyone is avoiding it. But I just want to say, where there's no science, there's no publication. Where there's no science, there's no publication, which is tough to swallow. I want to give you an example. The first drone in South Africa with a thermal sensor was bought by Water Research Commission through my proposal that I had written. I was not working for the Water Research Commission by then. And the first publication on drones, agricultural water management, was done by me. And the lady that is sitting there is a product of that. She has a PhD, Sinetemba. She's going to talk tomorrow. It has impact. We developed models on the water, I'm going to talk about it, on the water energy food nexus. It's a new transformative approach. And if we just sit there, how are the people going to know about it? It's about dissemination. We need to disseminate. And our students, PhD masters, PhD students, need that information. And if it is just sitting there in my head, I can deal with it. So publication is very, very, very important. I'm going to say it a tough way. Let's not fool ourselves saying publication is not necessary. Thank you.
Do you want to say something? Or? Yeah, because we were told that lunch is ready, you know. But yeah, so discussions will continue, take advantage. And just... Yeah. Okay. And just a reminder, the credit card is with me, so if it's yours, please come to me, okay?
Check, check. Check, check.
What did you change?
Who? Nothing. I didn't change anything. Check. Oh. Check. 1, 2. Check. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
confirm that the microphone is required, so I will be making use of it. Right, good afternoon, everyone. Some of you who do know me and who know that I was previously part of the Institute for Water Research, which is the reference that Nelson was referring to, might be surprised by the topic, which is very much an engineering kind of topic, a little bit unusual, I would imagine, for an environmental person. So my interest in this is really around water resource conservation, and that's very much the angle that we're coming into this at. So I'm from Amatola Water. We're a water utility operational in the Eastern Cape. I'll show you a map just now. And this is our first, I guess, really official foray into innovation and technology, which is something that the organization has been driving. So we submitted a proposal to the WRC because a throwaway comment by a previous colleague who's also in this room, but I won't point him out, when I made comment about doing pipeline repairs, he said, "Oh, everyone uses pipeliners." And I went, "Oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that. Let's have a look." And so I submitted a proposal, concept idea, to the WRC. They nibbled. I submitted a full proposal, and they bit, and here we are with this project, really looking at what the state of the research and innovation is related to pipeliner rehabilitation and repair within the water sector specifically, not general. So I'm going to skip over contents because I'm catching up with time. So this really is a partnership between ourselves as Amatola Water and an innovation and technology company called Partnering for Impact. Some of you may be familiar with them. They were previously, or it was our utilities, but they have since withdrawn out of South Africa, and Partnering for Impact grew out of that, and two strategic partners that are part of the project, Chantal Kotze and Francois Gous. And as part of the WRC requirements, we needed to have a student on board as well, and we found a young man called Awai Shah and his supervisor, Moses Basitere, in the engineering faculty at UCT, who are part of this. So, what is Amatola Water? There's been a lot of discussion in this room specifically related to municipalities and what their role is in water services delivery, from delivering water into houses and sanitation. But Amatola Water's mandate is very much bulk water services. So that's where we are. We are operational within the Eastern Cape. The red line denotes our gazetted area. The darker area is where we are currently actually operational, so it's quite a small footprint. And the area that we are operating in is in terms of resource development. If there's dams required, we do bulk treatments, getting it into final command or distribution reservoirs. This is not our domain. This is where the municipalities operate. They also do the wastewater treatment, and then it comes back into the river, which again is then where we pick it up for treatment. So that's how we operate. Within the organization, we have various divisions relating to the work that we do. So we have water resources, which is where I'm housed, which is where the environmental aspects are, planning and design, project implementation, and then operations and scientific services that do the actual operating and do the monitoring of the water quality. So we have a water conservation, water demand management strategy that needs to be implemented, and non-revenue water, as you heard from Andrew's presentation this morning, is a challenge, not only across the whole country, but for us as well, and we really do need to do something about it. So the last no-drop report had the national NRW at 47%, and 41% of that was attributed to pipeline leaks, which is why this project kind of, I think, had some life for me. So what are we doing at Amatola Water? Because obviously there's a lot of pressure on us to reduce our non-revenue water losses as well. We have quarterly reporting against key performance indicator targets that are reported to DWS. Our most recent quarter, so our operating year is different to everybody else's and got nothing to do with SARS, so we operate from July to June, and our most recent quarter indicated a total water loss of 15.5%, which, you know, is a whole lot better than 47%. And it's a combination of both plant and distribution losses. And the plant losses are related to treatment losses, some of it, and some of it is also, there are things not quite working within the plant. So what we're most interested in is this 8% in our distribution network, which has come down considerably from a previous reporting as well. But that's across the organization. When we start looking at our different water supply systems, and we have several, our monthly distribution losses range between 4 and 40%. So the 4% brings that 40% all the way down, so that ends up looking quite good. But then you actually have to look and see what's going on. So if we look at the organization as a whole over the years, you can see that there's an increasing trend in water losses. Okay, so that's not a good sign. And this is both in the distribution and in the treatment processes. But then if you take it down into the actual individual water supply systems, you can see how variable it is. So this is a Nahoon water loss. It's almost a flat line. Then we have an increasing trajectory on our Laying water supply system, and again on the Sandili water supply system. So those increasing trajectories are not great, and those are the things that we need to be addressing. So the consequences of all these water losses, I think everybody knows about it. I'm not going to go into any detail here, but it's around financial sustainability. My particular interest is in environmental sustainability, because treating all that water and then letting it run away into the environment is just seems like a really poor business model, if you ask me. So that impacts then on water supply security and assurance, and also on water quality assurance, because where there is a burst pipe, there is going to be sediment that gets into that pipe. And that is what makes consumers very unhappy. So the project aims were then to investigate any advances, if anything, in the use of pipeliners for bulk water pipeline repair. So this is not going into the reticulation. This is not the retic that goes to your taps. We're talking bulk here. And so what we needed to understand is what is happening in South Africa, because the throwaway comment was, oh yes, it's common. Well, just how common is it, and why as an organization have we not embraced this technology? Can these pipeliners actually impact positively on water services delivery? In other words, getting the water to where it needs to be, in the quality that it needs to be, and in the volumes that are required. So that's quite a significant one. And what are the financial savings, if any? Is it cheaper to put in a pipeline rehabilitation thing, whatever, there's various options, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, or should we just replace pipeline with pipeline and just go in 6 meters at a time? Dig it open, take out the old, put in the new, close it up. What are the environmental impacts? What are the service delivery impacts of that process? And then also, you know, any future needs. So within our organization, and I'm sure that other entities have got very similar issues, maybe, you know, more pipeline. We've only got just over 800 kilometers of pipeline. Doesn't seem like a lot. Our diameters range from 15 millimeters to 750 millimeters. We have materials that range from asbestos cement, concrete, fiber cement, galvanized steel, HDPE, all of those, okay? And we have pipeline classes to deal with different pressures ranging from 1 to 14. That is just what we have in the ground. So if there is a pipe burst, you need to know not only where it is, but you can see where it is sometimes, okay? You need to know what's in the ground. You need to know what to replace it with. Can we possibly have such a varied stock on hand? How sensible is it to have all that stock on hand? Is there another way of dealing with these pipelines? 813 kilometers of pipeline. It's not all around Buffalo City, East London, where we are operational, okay? We travel far. So you get to the pipeline, you see, oh, I brought HDPE, but it's galvanized steel. You go back to the workshop. You go back. Oh, I forgot my wrench. I go back again. So it just keeps going on. So the distances rack up very carefully, or very quickly. Sometimes you can't see the leaks. Okay, so how do you know what's going on? We do a lot of flow metering. It's difficult to assess the condition of the pipelines because they're buried. The only way to assess them, you got to open them up. Is there something else that we can do? So there's lots of considerations for trying to find an alternative to replacing pipeline with pipeline. So this is just 3 of the pipelines that we have identified that could potentially benefit from some of this pipeline material. They're short sections, 7 kilometers. That doesn't sound like an awful lot. Okay? One of them has been costed at 64 million. The other one has been costed at 30 million. And we're taking a wild guess on this one for 60 million. You can see the varying landscape, so that adds a whole lot into the mix in terms of dealing with that, getting our trucks out there, getting our equipment out there. It's a big ask. So then we did this technology scan. What pipeliners, what alternative trenchless technologies are out there that could assist? Potential advantages: minimal surface damage, reducing our environmental footprint, reduced distances and traffic disruptions, time saving. What are the impacts to hydraulics, water quality, because we cannot deviate from that, any costs? And so what are the questions that we asked when we did the technology scan? And there was the issue raised around what worth is publication. This is where its worth is, because this is where we found where the technologies are, where we needed to go and look, who we needed to contact. Because the companies that are selling you the stuff will tell you anything. You need to know what the truth is, and you find that in your publications, so don't stop publishing, because we use it. So we need to know what length can be replaced, what is the impact on the hydraulics, what is the impact on the material that's in the ground, what can we use, what is the impact of the pipeline condition when it's installed. So many questions that we had to ask of the research papers, of the innovators who were developing that technology. So we focused on emerging as well as established, emerging as in the research papers, established as in the companies. We submitted questionnaires, we got information back, and there's many different techniques that are used, some with more or less success than others. So there's cured in place, sprayed in place, pulled in place, pipe within a pipe, patch repairs. Which one do we end up going for? So in the end, the technology matrix identified 66 companies that we included in our final matrix, of which 58 were at a technology readiness level scale of 9, which is they are ready for commercial application and in fact are being applied, and those are the ones that we ended up focusing on. There are 23 that have a footprint in South Africa or trying to gain a footprint in South Africa. They have various pipeline diameters that they can install into over various distances. Some are even installed or even certified for use in potable water. Now that is a critical advantage, because pipeliners are used in the gas industry, in the oil industry, and very much so in the sewage industry. So those are not appropriate for us for use in potable water. There are limitations on some in terms of diameter, in terms of what bends. None of them can do 90 degrees, which doesn't really surprise me. Some of them require specialist equipment and personnel. That might present a problem. We think back to our procurement environment in South Africa. Okay, supply chain issues. So those are things that all need to be factored into when you're trying to make a decision. And then we had structured interviews with the developers, with the people who are doing these things, and this is what we refer to as case studies. And so just to give you an example, we crossed into the US, not physically, but US, Australia are doing quite a lot, in the UK as well. Different diameters, different lengths, different processes. And we even found 2 in South Africa that are doing this quite successfully in a potable environment. City of Cape Town, they did a pull-through, which they liked. There was no disruption to traffic. It was in Newlands, so you know what the traffic's like in Newlands. It did reduce the diameter of the pipeline, but they could push the water through. But it's not suitable for diameters over 500 millimeters. So that was a bit of a problem there. They also indicated that they weren't interested in trying this again, which seemed a bit of a shame. This West Coast municipality one was fascinating, and we ended up having a meeting, a physical meeting with them and talking through the whole process. It was municipal pipeline under private land. Okay, so that again is an access issue, because we find a lot of our infrastructure pipeline has been built over by infrastructure. So that was a really nice example. They found a technology that was developed in China and has been utilized in Australia very successfully, and they are trying to get it certified in Germany as well. Rapid installation, minimum disruption, and apparently anyone could do it, as long as you have a winch to pull your pipeline through. So, insights, it's possible. We need to be investigating this a lot further. We have to simply have pilot projects. WRC, we're looking at you. We need to have some more information on potable water quality assurance. We just need to do some basic water quality testing. It's not that hard. And then what we should try and get to is a technical readiness for implementation. Have a checklist that people can use and say, have you got this? You need to have really good specifications so that you get the product that is going to be of best benefit to you. That's it. Project's nearly done.
Thank you. We have time to engage in terms of question and answer later. Can I invite Dr. No Klankla, please, if you...
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I am a Rhodes University alumni. So yeah, I am, it's good to be back. My name is Nonhlanhla Kalebaila. Unfortunately, I don't know whether to say fortunately or unfortunately. When I left, I had my own surname, but yeah. I gained a degree and another one, yeah. So yeah, I am going to be talking to you today about resilient drinking water systems. Just the topic of drinking water is a topic that is very close to, I don't know why the presentation is running away from me, but I guess it's going to help me to talk much faster. Yeah, resilient drinking water systems are systems that are able to absorb shocks from the system and recover as quick as they can, which means that they can anticipate shocks. This topic is very important because drinking water touches all of us. Every day when you turn the tap, you want to have drinking water that is safe, and it must be reliable and sustainable as well. But we do know that that is not the case most of the time. There are sometimes failures in the system, and drinking water failures, they can have very, very dire consequences because they can affect public health, and also they can result in loss of trust to the municipality, loss of revenue, and so on and so forth. So when we talk about resilience in this context, we are talking about a culture that extends beyond compliance, your blue drop typically for drinking water, but it is a commitment for always looking ahead, anticipating what's coming ahead, innovating continuously, and also a commitment for continuous improvement. How can I do better than yesterday? So the aim of this presentation is to really explore research that has been done and also engage on how collectively we can strengthen our water services institutions so that they can also run and operate resilient water treatment systems. So the shocks within the system, drinking water systems, they come about due to a number of pressures. Climate change is one, which results in droughts, floods, which impact quality, quantity of resources, as well as the infrastructure. We also have other global pressures, your population growth, urbanization, which also impact the quality and the demand for water supply, and also can also result in pollution of our water resources or other changes in our water resources. And also the infrastructure already, we've been hearing since morning that it's already aging, or it's aged, it's not aging. So that is another challenge. And one other challenge that also we experience quite a lot is the supply chain. We do know that drinking water treatment or water treatment systems, they rely on chemicals, technologies. If we remember around COVID, we couldn't bring stuff inside the country, those that were relying on imported technologies. And also, even within the local environment, just a couple of years ago, there was a problem with the supply of chlorine, so which really would also impact on the quality of the water. Energy security, load shedding is something that we are familiar with, as well as other socio-economic shifts which would also impact a drinking water system. There is a very useful report, a study that was done by the WRC. So I've put the report number there. So that diagram, that graphic that you see there, it comes from that report. It has a very useful information on, it was done on adaptive climate change technologies for local government. So you will get to understand the different impacts and also how you can get around them. So how do we solve this, or how do we get to that stage where we can say that our systems are resilient? So upfront, we need to have the culture of risk governance. So a couple of years ago, the Water Research Commission, we also commissioned a study. So the report comes in a 3-part volume, where the first volume just explains the concept of risk governance. And also there is a tool there, it's an Excel-based tool that you can use if you are interested in actually determine your maturity in terms of risk governance. And then the second report, it profiles some case studies in South Africa as well as abroad where they've applied that practice of risk governance. And then the last volume is what you're seeing, which is a guide for municipalities. So risk governance, as I said, it is a culture. It is just not a practice that you have to do once and then you comply. It is something that you have to continuously keep on doing, and it extends beyond the compliance programs like your Blue Drop, because it goes beyond the technical risk management. It goes into the institutional coordination, regulatory oversight, as well as stakeholder participation, and also it forces you to actually adopt adaptive policy frameworks so that the system or the whole organization will be able to recover or be able to anticipate or absorb shocks within the system. So in terms of the Blue Drop, Green Drop, that is where really the intention is to get there, to that culture of risk governance. So as you know that it is an incentive-based program with small incremental steps until we get to a level of excellence where you can now practice a risk governance. And then also it comes down to the planning. So as I said that as a resilient drinking water system, it requires one to have the foresight, to be able to plan ahead, anticipate risks, shocks, hazards that are coming your way. So which means that your planning, you have to take a plan for different scenarios. You have to plan for diversified water sources, energy options, as I've spoken about the energy insecurity, and also plan for different designs depending on your locality, your needs, infrastructure designs. Do you require a centralized system that you'll be able to control and manage? Do you require a decentralized or modular system that you'll be able to retrofit, upgrade, expand in the future with your population growth? That will be easier to manage in the future. So when we talk about also diversified water sources, there is a project. I mean, the WRC, we have explored quite a lot, and I think one of the next speakers will talk about groundwater. So I just profiled this recent guideline that we did in association with IMESA. It is a revised version of the Water Reclamation Guide for Municipal Engineers. So there are previous iterations, but what we re-emphasized in this current version is the issue of communication, engaging the public or stakeholders on that new supply option that you would have selected. In this case, it is water reuse. And also another aspect that we amplified, it is the need for oversight, transparency in the planning of schemes. So just after when we had finished this guideline, we did some roadshows all over the country, and then after that we were approached by the City of Cape Town to support the implementation of the new water strategy. So when City of Cape Town came to us, they said, our municipal engineers, yes, they can read the guideline, they can plan, they can also write out a tender specification for a water reclamation plant. But what we would want to also adopt as part of our implementation, it is an independent advisory panel. So the independent advisory panel, it is made up of experts. This reminded me because I had one of the esteemed member from the Office of the Premier that, you know, sometimes you take out these tenders, then the consultants or the consultants or the engineers, they then come back and tell you this is what you need. But what that independent panel of experts does is it adds an additional layer of oversight. So now you have an independent group of people that are going to review the municipalities' decisions or goals, the consultants' proposals, and then provide that expert view of really the planning, the designs, and also how you would want to roll out the program, and also make sure that there's that interaction between the planners and as well as your stakeholders. So we are very much open to testing this concept, even here in the Eastern Cape. Then the aspect that is really, really important to ensure treatment resilience, which really has an impact on the final water quality, is treatment resilience. So this hinges largely on the ability to adopt or continuously innovate. So when I looked at the needs, the document that came from the province, one of the areas that was for interest is how can AI or intelligent systems, technologies be also adopted in order to improve some of the processes. So already advanced technologies. So a while ago, we were also relying so much on guidelines, document. So we had published what cost. That is a guideline that guides you how to select appropriate treatment technologies when you're designing a water treatment plant. And also there is a costing element. So there is a similar document for reuse plants. You can have cost it. It also comes with a decision support, which is the reuse DM. So, but if you harness the power of AI, that means that you can basically now be able to adopt some of these intelligent systems and be able to predict what technologies that you can put. And also in terms of process optimization, there is a guideline, a hard document that you can use in order to comply with the process audits that are prescribed under the Blue Drop But with the use of future technology, you can be able to use historical data to be able to predict and also have some future insight on the behavior of your plant. So this is a very big field. So the WRC, we've already started channeling some research, some foundational research projects or reports that are already available. What you see, that whole list there, are reports that you can already download from our website. And there are case studies already that we have started testing some of the technologies that you see there. So if you have an interest, we are definitely open to looking at how we can test the application of those. So lastly, a very important subject, water quality assurance. You have the technology, you have your planning right, but you have to have that assurance that the water that you are supplying to the public, it just does not meet SANS 241, but it is safe for drinking. So most of you would know that the 2025 version of SANS 241 is due before the end of the year. So most people, they get stuck on the final water quality when actually there's a big section in SANS 241 which talks about risk-based water quality assessment, which means that you must understand your source water. So there is no prescription for an accredited laboratory, because that is the information that you need to actually design, optimize your treatment technologies. So if your treatment technologies are working very well, they are doing what they are supposed to, then that means that then your water quality would not have emerging contaminants, because that you would have already detected in your source water. So it's very important that we build capacity to test treatment technologies and also to contribute to the knowledge hub, the WRC knowledge hub on CECs in water environments. So I am going to end by emphasizing the need to collaborate so that we can be ahead and be the early warnings for the risks that are coming, so that we can also support water service institutions to be able to absorb most of the risks, shocks that are coming. And I will stop there. I saw the chair said my time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kalebaila. Thank you. All right. Mr. Wandile.
How do you drive the presentation? Oh. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Up front, I have no relationships with this university. No. Well, as far as the province is concerned, I was expropriated by Gauteng. My home is in the eastern part of this province, in the Transkei. Well, my presentation is just about sharing the opportunities that we have in terms of water resources assessments in the Water Research Commission. And I've been given about 15 minutes. I think I have about 60 slides. Oh, you don't want me to do that? Okay. Okay, I'll take about 16 of those. Okay, firstly, this is the Water Research Commission. This is how it is structured within the research, development, and innovation. We have what we call themes. These are focus areas which Professor Odume listed in his presentation. And most of the research around water security is under the theme 1, water availability, which is defined here below. And this is how it is structured. That we have some focus areas and some indicative outputs that we want to get from your research when you're doing this research. When you submit a proposal, just look at that. That's what we do. And Nonhlanhla also made some reference on the new water supply sources. We do have a focus area such as that. And over the last couple of years, we've been interacting with some stakeholders and those who are interested in the water-related stuff. And they have been dumping some high-level challenges, which we have listed. And these guides your proposals. If you're submitting a proposal, that could be helpful. And there are so many. I have not included all of them, but these are some of the key ones that you can see. But I've chosen to talk about just one of the pressures on our water resources, specifically the climate change one. And I have one or two examples on that. But I thought I should start with this particular graph about the cyclicity of our climate in South Africa. Every 5th year, you will experience some semblance of drought in one or two geographic areas of every 5th year. And that is the nature of our climate. And on occasions, you will experience this kind of a cycle, a 9-year cycle, that every 10th year we should experience some high-intensity drought, like the one that we had around 2015 or thereabout. This is the kind of cycle that we had. This was discovered way back in the mid-80s, I think, by Wits University and the University of Natal. Peter Tyson and them, they discovered this kind of cyclicity in terms of our climate forthcoming. This has huge implications for our water resources planning. Long-term planning needs to take into account this kind of cyclicity. And a couple of years ago, we said, well, there was this perception about climate change and the increasing droughts and stuff. But it was a perception until we asked somebody to do this kind of research to characterize our droughts in the country. They took the data from the 1950s up to the present and used these indices, drought indices, just to characterize the drought. And what they found was that from the late 70s, early 80s, we had noticed an increasing drying in our climate. And even the droughts themselves, the transition of drought from year to year in one cases. In some cases, it will transition from one season to the next. And that is increasing. And we asked them to do the projections looking into the future. And the future is not rosy. It's going to get worse. The water resources planners must be very careful now. And in their planning scenarios, they should take this into account. But there were quite a few examples that we requested that the researchers should invest on, specifically on looking on the climate variability on the eastern part of on the wetter eastern part of the country, and see what the climate change will do to it. And what they found, I've lost another graph. What they found that the temperatures were increasing, and they made some projections on what is likely to happen into the future if you do not do the mitigation. And the graph that is missing was about the rainfall. As the temperatures are increasing, our average mean rainfall was going down. That's what the graph, which has disappeared, would have shown us. But one notable thing, which is bullet number 4, what they discovered was that we tend to do the average monthly rainfall, looking at the rain that will fall from the first day up to the end of the month or something. But with the increasing temperature, what we get is one heck of a high-intensity rainfall in one day. And the rest of the other days will be dry. That's what is happening. And that is leading to all those, the flooding and stuff like that, flash floods, sedimentation, especially in the degraded lands, which is where I come from in the Transkei. And on the water resources assessment front, there is a long history of water resources assessment in South Africa. Started way back in the 50s, when the Department of Water Affairs was called the Department of Irrigation. They started it with the intention to build dams. So the latest installation of these assessments is DABAR 2012, Water Resources of South Africa, in which we try to, under natural conditions, estimate how much surface water we have in the country. And we try to incorporate groundwater into these assessments, because groundwater has not always been there in terms of the assessments. It has been ignored. You know why? Because it was private water. And these estimates, we give some estimates per water management area on how much water we have. The Tsitsikama, the Mzimvubu to Tsitsikama, which is it reddish? Yes. We estimated how much water there is. But in the whole of South Africa, under natural conditions, we have about approximately 49 billion cubic meters of water. And yeah, this is under natural conditions. But the groundwater one, well, as I said, groundwater has always been private water, and nobody cared about whether to assess it and so on. I had Andrew talk about some monitoring boreholes that we have. Yes, those boreholes, the majority of those boreholes were cited for the purposes of trying to check, see what happens if it rains, what happens with the water levels, what is the water quality and stuff like that. But we never got to do a proper hydrogeological assessment for our aquifers in the country. But this was started by the Department of Water Affairs, the Water Research Commission and others to try and map out where our groundwater exists, where it occurs, and the exploitation potential of that groundwater in the country. And guess what? On the eastern side of the country, northeastern side of the country, this is where most of our groundwater is. There's a great deal of the high groundwater potential on the eastern side of the country. But I will show you tomorrow, because you don't want me to present the other stuff. I'll show you tomorrow what happens in that part of the world in terms of the water supply. And we looked at how much groundwater we have in the country, in the Eastern Cape, the highest potential ever in the Eastern Cape, followed by KwaZulu-Natal and so on. But the amount of water being abstracted according to WOMS is very little, it's minute in the Eastern Cape. It's a registered water abstraction in the country. And interestingly, overall, groundwater contributes about 15% in the bulk water supply in the country, despite its potential. I should have mentioned here that the groundwater potential for the country is of equal magnitude as that of the surface water. But we have not investigated where exactly in the country we have this potential. So, and it contributes approximately up to 60% of our domestic water supply. And in the rural areas, almost 90% of the water supply there comes from groundwater. That's very interesting, isn't it? So there was a survey which was conducted way back in 2017, 2018, just to check, see, in terms of the reliability on groundwater. It was mapped out throughout the country. So we found that if we are looking at the eastern part of the country, Eastern Cape specifically, groundwater and a combination of surface water and groundwater is massive. But the horror story about this whole thing is we could not find any qualified hydrogeologists or groundwater scientists in the municipalities that are meant to manage these water schemes in the country. At the time that this survey was done, we only found hydrogeologists only in the city of Cape Town. I'm sure this picture has changed now, but at the time that we did this survey, we were horrible to see that kind of a picture. Still on the water assessment side, we did what is referred to as strategic water source areas in the country. We mapped out where most of our water occurs, surface water, groundwater, and so on, and we delineated this. And yeah, it is there, and we launched it, and the Department of Environmental Affairs put together what is called an intergovernmental government committee to try and secure these strategic water source areas. Securing them means some of them are in areas that are not protected, and they need to be protected, and we need to a degree, limit some of the land uses there, or even prohibit some of the land uses, but we still need to do research on the potential impact of limiting some of the land uses in some of these strategic water source areas. So there is research potential there. Climate change, impact on these alien invasives on these strategic water source areas, those are research opportunities that we need to consider in terms of these strategic water source areas. This is part of the water resource assessment, by the way. I think in our final report, we indicated that these areas, they occupy only 10% of the South African land, and yet we're getting about 50% of our water from these areas, which we're trying to justify why they need to be protected and secured. And economic activity, 65%, and irrigation is getting 70% from these strategic water source areas. I think I should pause there until tomorrow. Thank you.
you for helping me save time. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Madikizela, it's over to you now. It's your turn. Not question, but solution, eh? Solution. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Now that I'm in control, I will decide what I ask and what I say. Thank you very much, colleagues. I'm quite pleased. The presentations now are starting to shift a little bit from 1997 National Water Services Act, Services Act, domestic, and we are getting into the source. Because somebody once said, water doesn't come from the tap. I hope you all agree. And you will tell me where it's coming from. Right. Of course, I was once here at Rose one day. So Charlie taught me that we all live downstream. Therefore, we all have something to benefit or disbenefit. I've got all my colleagues here, Nikit, who presented before me. We are all of this in that class. Now, we have taken the concept called river concept theory in our minds every time. We try to conceptualize because we want to integrate monitoring. Nikita really touched on that, on the infrastructure. Right, these are just the points I'm going to touch now. I don't have time. We have talked about this a little bit this morning, but from a different angle. You know, I get very worried when we've got these kinds of things, 34 years, say, after democracy. This is the wastewater treatment plants situation. This is the latest report, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And look at that. And that thing doesn't happen overnight at all. And now we have got urbanization, which means there are more and more people coming into this space. Now, what's going to happen to these wastewater treatment plants? Is this still the way to go in purifying our resources? When all of them fail like that, what happens to my fish and my macroinvertebrates, etc., which are well protected by Chapter 3 of the National Water Act? So you see, we are in trouble. Of course, the media is not going to let us free. They're going to tell us we are not doing well. Right. By the way, that sewage is only looking at where there's a treatment plants and water must go somewhere to be treated. But there's sewage, more and more of that just runs straight from the business into the system. Now, the situation actually is worse than that 92. Now, what are the impacts of these things? If you look now at our dams, I think Andrew kind of avoided to talk about that. When we talk about water security, way back in 1971, one day that was showing us the reason why was for that water security. And we put all those dams. You can see the graphs those days. It just goes up like this because we wanted a water-secured country. But now this is what we are doing to our water. More than 87% of our dams are in that kind of a situation, eutrophic to hypertrophic. Now, my friend, this is just happening between 2017 and 2020. Now, I don't know what is the story now, but I know that if you can use your own system and look at the Harpiosport Dam, I don't know about Buffalo, but same story about Andrew. Right, these things have got serious impacts. Here is ecotourism. When I raised my hand, I wanted us to have a chat about that, because once you have got your dams like that, there's no tourism there. You have killed tourism, not only the water for us to drink and everything, but also the generation of revenue. You have killed the tourism. You go to Duzi, I know there's one of the Duzi similar activities that was happening in the Eastern Cape here. It closed down because people get sick after trying to swim or play in the river or compete. And that's not what we want. Of course, my animals are in trouble. Now, somebody mentioned the issue of implementation. When we have tools and tools and tools, I mean, yeah, Here is our national strategy on managing eutrophication. When I joined WRC 15 years ago, we were completing with Steve Michel a artist Yami, which was looking at how do we fix the eutrophication in that dam. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but this is the most recent thing that is happening in the file system, where we had water litters. The whole part of the river covered, like you can see there. We are not doing it, guys. One other thing that was not mentioned much is the sedimentation. I think one day we also started touching on this. There's your big five. There's a reason why you put all those dams in place. Look at Vedebach, which we share with the Lesotho Highlands. That's where we take a lot of our water. 91% by 2010. I'm sure now it's going to be turned into a wetland. And how much did we pay to put that into place? And what's going to happen to the beneficiaries? So these are the things that, while we look at the water quantity, water supply, we also have to be very careful. There's a quality issue that goes with this. We don't have water soon if we behave the way we do with our water resources. Now, I'm sure my colleagues are still going to talk even more about the infrastructure. I was starting to enjoy it when my municipality started to talk about infrastructure. But again, they went straight to the pipes. We also have ecological infrastructure, which needs to be intertwined with the grey infrastructure. And that's the smart city, resilient city of the future. Now, here in Gqeberha, we produced the guidelines on how to rehabilitate. It's a tourist destination, that River Bakens. If you look at the history of that, that's huge revenue. For that matter, it was funded 100% by them at the Bay, so that we can develop these guidelines. And we did that. Patsy was one of the people we were running up and down trying to establish exactly what needs to be done there, at what cost. The report is there. I hope after 5 years I can go back and see if there's any change, and the money that we invested in that. Wetlands, we have done rehabilitation guidelines way back 2009, but even today we still have problem with our wetlands, which are the main ecological infrastructure kind of a thing in the catchment. We look at river rehabilitation. Most of our rivers in urban areas are in trouble, and we have already produced the guidelines. Now what we need to do really is to get the tools going into action. This is guidelines developed by Kate Rontry, one of us here who is retired, working in Mzimvubu, the dongas and dongas there that needs to be rehabilitated. We have those tools, they are ready. They are even translated into Xhosa. I asked her to, let's do that. Oh, okay, you can't see Zwartkops. Oh, no, you can. This is the hydrological, socio-ecological system framework, where we said we need to talk to the people. You remember what we said, community-driven. What is it that you want to see your estuary looking like? We were driving, all of us, well, most of us passed the Zwartkops yesterday before getting here. And you had to close your windows and your aircon, whatever, because you started to smell it. It is here. I've been in that on a boat. It's terrible. And it's driven by the people, because the pollution really comes from the us, one way or another. We have talked here about one of the threats to our water quality and quantity as alien invasive plants. Again, we went to Mzimvubu. We tried to make sure that this remote sensing thing is not impossible, and it can actually tell you a lot about what is happening. You don't have to go to Mzimvubu now. There's a tool, but the issue is, do we have capacity to implement that? We need to upscale that. I think my future projects are going to look at that. And then, of course, we still have this problem of the water hyacinth. I don't know how many PhDs we have in this country because of eutrophication, but there's still eutrophication, and it's getting worse. Yes, we must have those PhDs, no doubt about it. Here we had 5 countries globally working together, trying to solve this legal thing. Of course, it was important to our country, as a decorative plant. Now we have to battle with that. Okay. Andrew talked us here about biomonitoring. I said, wow, that's very nice. I remember way back 2004. That's what we were doing. Each province was able to give us a state of rivers report. Beautiful reports. I was still at Water Affairs then. And that would then produce a state of water resources in the country. And that goes to environmental affairs. You see how we serve the water sector broadly. And we'll know what is happening with our water quantity and quality in the country. Now we've moved, not moved, but we are trying to make that very nice and easy and quick. All the tools that are used in the river health, and especially citizen science tools, we are moving those to online. So nobody can say, I don't know what to do. The training is online, you click a button, you get the video, it will play, and you can just do it, and you know your biomonitoring or water quality status. So we've been doing that. Citizen Science adopted River. Way back 2008-07, I was there to design that. Then they were realizing that really there's a problem around implementation. We said, now let's establish a corporate social investment legal budget to just see if we can go out there and demonstrate what we are talking about practically. So that is Dr. Jennifer's baby, and we hope that it will really grow fast so that we can reverse some of these things. Okay, the citizens have been involved in monitoring, but ad hoc. So we collected that data across the country, and we produced the first State of Rivers report based on citizen science data. I want to improve this and see if I can take it also to transboundary. I believe that the bottom up is the way to go. The citizens get affected by this kind of pollution if they have power or empowered enough to take everybody who's not doing well, to hold them accountable. They need that kind of data, not so. So as I said earlier, sitting here, we produce a tool that goes to your app, goes to your, then you can click and you tell exactly what is happening with the water hyacinth or any other macrophyte in your dam. And it means if you are willing manager, you will jump and do what needs to be done before the dam gets covered by oil river. So those are early detections. And of course, we are looking at shifting from the traditional way of doing monitoring for the last whatever many years to making use of technology. Somebody mentioned drones here. And when we started to think about drones, we were told that it's illegal. You can't do this, you need a license, blah, blah, blah. Now I see that they are getting there fast. There's a reason why that is happening. Here we are. We said also we need to reimagine monitoring. We need to use the technology. There's very little chance in this country that you will be driving a 4x4, get to a river, take a sample once a month, bring it to national office accredited. I mean, between the times you go to the site, what is happening? But this chap tells you what is happening now. So we take a fish, we let it go, it gives us the quality of data, where it is, even the places that you wouldn't access on your own. This information comes to your laptop, comes to your computer, and you must act if you want. We have a legislative support in this country. I mean, traveling abroad, they tell you that, you guys, why do you have problems if you have got all this toolbox? Yes. Now, do we need to innovate, or do we need to intervene, or do we need to do all? But I think it has got something to do with the will. If these managers are very comfortable sitting on their couches, we need a different kind of a couch so that they can jump. I think we can do that. As citizens, bottom-up approach, make them uncomfortable. Some of you can even tell me who was this parliamentarian. So this stuff has gone into the parliament and is known, but we need to do a lot about that. Citizens doing a job as well. Colleagues, this is taxpayers' money. Our water is vanishing, and we are here. Thank you very much. Do visit and see what is contained in your 50 years of research. I can't do that in 10 minutes. You can see the chairperson is here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dix. Thank you. So we have some time to engage the presentation. Right from the kind of work that Amatola Water is doing on water pipelines and innovation technology to future-proofing water quality management in South Africa, to some of the priority research areas around water security, and lastly, the various aspects of water quality monitoring and ecology and biodiversity. So if you have any question, please. Okay, let me start with the CEO.
Thank you very much. Is this audible? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Maybe Nikita, just from my side is to ask the question. I mean, I looked at the sizes of the pipeline and of course the mix in terms of the materials from which the pipelines are made out of, and the fact that you keep repairing where there's leaks, and looking also at the gradient, and you are still trying to bury it underground, and it's PVC pipes which maybe sometimes are not as vulnerable to theft and all of those things. Are there any other options? A different time and space, and now when we are repairing, we're trying to repair for the future. Are we building in the resilience aspects into the kind of maintenance and repairs that is being done to ensure that we don't run into the same problem? Then you also indicated that sometimes you go and dig and then find out that it is not the right size or the right. Are we thinking of perhaps conducting a, I don't know if you'd call it a due diligence study or what, but you need to map what's out there. And my view is that it shouldn't happen because there's a leak, because you're trying to repair. We need to be running a study that says one day you'll have your own blueprint of what's in the ground, how old, and how do you repair, and what needs to be done. Is that process happening? If not, then, to